Hello. Good afternoon, everybody. I am here because I'm going to do a review on Divorce Sistas episodes 6 through 8. I am behind. I am trying to play catch up. I am very far behind. I got a few shows I need to play catch up on because I got to play catch up on Sistas. I got to catch up on All the Queen's Men. And I need to, the next review I do probably later today or not, maybe tomorrow, is going to be Heart and Hustle Houston. So I'm going to watch, after I finish this, I'm going to go watch that so I can get caught up on that. So right now I'm only 2 episodes behind on that. So I definitely got to get that together. Anyway, life been over here, so I've been a little preoccupied with things. So that's why I am behind. So with that being said, all things in the video are alleged and they are from my opinions. They are used for entertainment purposes only. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Drop down in the comments. Let me know what you guys think. And please like, share, and subscribe. And this is episode 6. Episode 6 is, my last review was episode 5. When I was like, I know it. I know he was gay. I know he was this. I know he was that. And so it looks like they played me. They played me. So I got to come back and talk about, he was talking to his wife, or he was talking about his wife. Because, where it ended at for that last episode was where he called on the phone and he was calling her husband baby. So of course he's saying he wasn't talking about Pastor Jeff. And we know he was, but Myron apologizes. Of course, Pastor Jeff tells him that, you got my wife looking at me sideways. And he tells him, he's like, I thought I was talking to my wife. And I'm like, dude, you always claiming you talking to your wife. You ain't talking to your wife about everything, every time. You ain't always talking to her. But hey, Rashida, she's in her feelings. So she storms off. And of course, Jeff is still talking to him, and he still tells him, he thought he had, hit redial, and he called his wife back, which do that, but whatever. However, after he hangs up the phone with him, we will see him praying. He's trying to help ease his wife's mind. And in the midst, or right after his prayer, he receives a call from Tiffany. And she lets him know that they had went and checked on Naomi, and she had been released from jail. Of course, Jeff tells her that Franklin is going to come at Naomi with everything that he's got, and that he's a different breed. So we know, Franklin is an evil, little hateful thing. Hell, so is Naomi at this point, but hey. Um, Tiffany asks him, why did Rashida is not answering her phone? Of course, he doesn't tell her. Did he tell her that Rashida slept in the car all night because he didn't open the door for her? He tells her that, he had messed up. And of course, the first thing that crosses Tiffany's mind, as with all the other ladies in this show, is that he cheated, because evidently that is the thing for these people to do, is cheat. So everybody is cheated. So they assume that he's cheating. He lets her know, that he didn't cheat. They argued and he didn't open the door for her. She tells him that he hit a trigger that he didn't know he hit, because, of course, Rashida has not informed him of the fact that this is a trigger for her. So he's asking her what happened. Of course, she's telling him, you need to, Rashida should be the one to tell you this. You should hear it from Rashida. You should hear it from Rashida. You should hear it from Rashida. But either way it go, after she sat there and said, you should hear it from Rashida, eventually she tells him what has happened. And she lets him know that when they were in college, Rashida's father was a pastor. So they went to a fraternity party that they shouldn't have went to. And while they was there was this guy that Rashida liked. It was her boyfriend, I guess. And, while they was in the room, they were making out or whatever. Then some more of his frat brothers came in, and the boyfriend left out, closes the door, and, he held the door while his frat brothers raped her, took advantage of her, FA'd her. I mean, so she tells him that she is probably standing in front of a mirror trying to convince herself to stay with him. And, he basically had to beg her, and she, like I said, she did tell him. And she was telling him about how she was begging the boyfriend to open the door. He never opened the door for her. So she was in there all night while he held the door open for her. Held the door closed, my bad, I'm sorry. She lets them know that she had told them that she wouldn't be with a man that wouldn't open the door for her. And then she met Jefferson, and he opened all of the doors. So that's how they ended up getting married. Of course, he feels away because he's like so shocked, surprised, because he didn't know any of this. So he's in a state of, oh my God, oh my God. So he goes in and he tries to talk to her. And of course, she doesn't want to listen. He apologizes for not opening the door. He explains that he has been stressing and then he literally opens up. He literally opens all the way up and lets her know what's been going on with him. That he's been, really jealous and insecure as far as it relates to his wife. Because he's like, everybody loves her and he has to work really hard for people to even like him. And he feels like he's been struggling in her shadow. And he pours out his love heart, and she's just like, okay. And instead of her asking about all the stuff that he has just poured out to her, the first thing she says after she says, okay, is if he's having an affair with Myron. Now, he may not be having an affair with Myron, but Myron is having an affair with him. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Myron won't do, man. You ain't gonna be able to tell me different. I'm sorry. It's just not happening. Of course, he says no. And she asks if he's attracted to him. He tells her that he's not attracted to him, but there are some women that he's attracted to. Of course, she said, like who? And he tells her, some of the women that he finds attractive. And she tells him, she needs some space to process all of this. and she tells him to go back to work. And he asks if she'll be there when he gets back. And he makes her promise that she'll be there when he gets back. The next scene is where we'll see where Geneva calls Rashida, and she lets her know that she's following the pretty lady from the school, she is trying her best to find something on William to make her feel better about this situation with Javon. At this point, at first, Geneva was my girl. I was crazy about Geneva. Right now, Geneva giving me, girl, go sit down. I'm tired. Geneva's giving me, I'm tired, girl. Going on now. Anyway, right as she's getting off the phone with, right as she's getting off the phone with Jeff, not Jeff, right as she's getting off the phone with doggone Geneva, Jeff comes back in, and she tells him she thought he was gone, but he decided to wait for her. She said she's not going to the hospital. He tells her that's fine, but he'll drop her off at the church. So he's still sitting here saying a lot of stuff about opening the doors. So now, Rashida is starting to clock. Hey, you done talked to somebody. Who have you talked to? And he was like, he didn't talk to anybody yesterday. And she was like, well, I guess you trying not to lie. So you talked to somebody today. So now she's trying to figure out who he's talked to. And through the process of elimination, because the only people that obviously knew the situation was Tiffany and Geneva. And Geneva didn't tell it, so that leaves Tiffany. Tiffany got a big mouth. But anyway, she does the process of elimination. She figured out that it was Tiffany. He lets her know that he had been saying a prayer, and he was asking for something to help them. And right after the prayer, he got the call from Tiffany, so he feels like that was a sign from God. And he promises to open all the doors, including the closed ones of his heart. So the next thing, Calvin goes to see Bridget. She apologizes to him. And, Calvin is trying to have Vaughn arrested. She tells him she doesn't know where he is. She put him out. Of course, he was like, if you put him out, you know where he would go. He's telling her he would probably go to his mom's house, but she doesn't know where she stays, but she has an idea of the area. Anyway, up walks Jeff and Rashida while they're having that conversation. And Rashida asked Bridget who was going to jail, and because she walked up on their conversation and she heard something about somebody going to jail. So, of course, Rashida asked her who was it that was going to jail. And she explains the situation where, about how Bun and Calvin got fighting, and now Calvin is trying to put him in jail, but she had put him out the house, so she really didn't know where he was. And so Bridget was like, y'all came in here all lovey-dovey, so what's going on? What's going on with y'all? And she's asking what changed. Of course, they tell her nothing that she wants to get into right now. Next thing, we're going to see where Tiffany calls Geneva, and Geneva rejects the call. And while Geneva is rejecting the call, Tiffany is literally standing right in front of her. All she had to do was look up and see her. So she was like, oh, so that's what we're doing. And so she's like, okay, so why are you here at my house, in my neighborhood, or whatever? So she was like, she tells her that Javon called to her, and they talked all the way there, and somebody called to have her come show this house to them. And as they're having this conversation, Javon pulls up with flowers because he's the one that called about the house, which is literally right next door to Geneva and William. And Javon tells us that William was the one that told him about the house. And so she starts to get suspicious and tells him, the house is nice and he can't wait to kiss her. Really? He's so crazy. Anyway, Geneva leaves and she pulls up to the yoga studio and goes in, and she tells the yoga lady that she's a pretty lady. She lets her know that she's looking for Maddie's mom. Of course, she says she's Maddie's mom. She's there to try to schedule a play date. She asks her if her husband has her number, and she says no. Then Geneva leaves her phone, goes out to the car, puffs on a cigarette or two, and she talks to the girl. The girl tells her a little bit about the studio. She feels that there's something going on. She calls Rashida and she tells her about the yoga studio and that she feels like something is going on with the lady and William. And she asks Rashida, asks not Tiffany, Geneva, does she want Javon that bad? And she talks about how boring and predictable William is. And, she explains the situation with Javon trying to get the house next door and, what's going on with Tiffany. Geneva then tells Rashida that Tiffany can't be with Javon because he's doing the same stuff that he was doing when he was with her. And she's talking about his member. Obviously, he has a pretty big one. In my mind, he probably hung like a horse because she says she's never had one that big. And Rashida calls him the devil, and Geneva said he's a good man. So Rashida says that she thinks a man that is playing games with one of her best friends to make her jealous is a good man. So, of course, she had no response or comment to that. Rashida said this is too much drama for her today, and to let her know that she is looking for something to make her leave, which she is. Geneva, whatever Javon has done to, for, and with her, evidently is more than what William has done to, for, or with her. I don't know if William's small, like a little shrimp, but obviously she ain't had one as big as Javon. And evidently Javon is putting this thing on her and done blew her mind. So now she don't want to go back. Well, she's with William, but she really don't want to be with William. So she's looking for excuses so she can go out here to do what she's trying to do. I'm really not liking Geneva right now. Next thing we know, we're going to go to another scene where we're going to see where Bun texts Bridget and he's threatening to unalive himself. He said to her that you want me to go to jail, and she's asking him to talk to Jeff. Of course, he doesn't want to talk to Jeff. He said he has nowhere to go, but he doesn't want to go to a shelter. He says that he really loves her and she's trying to send him to jail. And, they're sitting there and they're going back and forth with him because she doesn't want anything to happen to him. But of course, he's not listening to what she's saying. So the next thing we do, we end up hearing where there is a shot. Because he's already threatened to unalive himself. Then we hear a shot, a pow, a boom, or whatever it is. And Bridget is screaming through the phone, Vun. That's how the scene is. That's how the episode ends. We don't know if he unalived himself. We don't know if he shot in the air. We don't know what he did. We just know that he threatened to unalive himself and then he shot. So we're assuming, based off of everything that's going on, that he supposedly has unalived himself. And that is the end of the episode. Anyway, episode 7, Bridget is still sitting there calling Bun. She's called because now somebody has hung up the phone. I don't know. She hung it up. Either way it go, the phone got hung up. So now she's calling back to back to back to back to back. She's hyperventilating. She's screaming. So this is a lot on a person for somebody to sit there and unalive themselves while you're on the phone with them. So yeah, I can see that affecting her in a way. So now she's sitting there crying because he done shot himself. He done unalived himself and she heard it. So that's making her feel away. So she's guilty. She's sitting there and she's crying and boo-hooing and crying and crying and crying and crying. And Rashida is asking, has he ever talked about suicide? And then they're saying that it could just be a cry for help. And she's like, what you talking about? And Pastor Jeff said he doesn't think he offed himself because he hung up. And then she realizes that Vaughn just might be playing games with her. He just might be playing games. So now she feels away. Interesting. So next we're going to go to where Naomi and her sex slave are getting it in. We'll see where she is beating his butt. And of course, he's telling her, he calls her the B word, tells her to chill out and that she is treating him as if he's her ex. And he's not her ex. So, she need to calm down. She's telling him that he needs to go ahead and off his ex and his wife. She says she's going to pay him $500K. She got $500K on his head. And if he includes the wife, she'll make it $1 million in cash. And he tells her that he's never gotten his hands that dirty, but he's going to see what he can do. Next, we're going to see where Tiffany walks into Rashida's office and Geneva is there. Of course, Tiffany asks if she's avoiding her because she has texted her 5 times and she hasn't responded. Of course, she tells her that she is busy. She's doing contracts and stuff with Rashida. Then she tells her about how she went to the pretty lady's job and she wanted to record her. Of course, everybody is defending William. They're saying William isn't doing anything. And then Rashida fills Tiffany in on the Bridget situation where Bun pretended like he offed himself. And of course, they talk about how Bridget has always dated younger men. And they were talking about CPAPs and stuff. I don't even recall how that conversation went. But Tiffany is talking about she wonders if Javon wears a CPAP. Bridget walks in and tells them about Vaughn is now at his cousin's house. And I know that just went all over the place because evidently whatever that conversation was talking about, I just skimmed through. And Tiffany tells them that Geneva doesn't want to be around her. And now Naomi is mad at Rashida because Rashida went to the hospital with her husband to check on Lindsay, whom she burned with the pot of coffee. So Tiffany asks Rashida, why is Geneva putting distance between them? And why are you asking Rashida? Won't you just, you could ask Geneva, but she's probably not going to be straightforward with you. But I can tell you why she's putting distance between y'all, because Javon is trying to play games with you to make your friend jealous because they were booming back here in the day. And there's the possibility that the baby that you're supposed to be babysitting when they go to Italy could be his. We found that out a couple of episodes ago, where it's questionable because he came right out as soon as he saw Anika and said, "Is she mine? Is she mine?" Who are you, dude? I don't know you. But anyway, she says that she can't keep Anika if Geneva keeps acting like this. Rashida, of course, said she'd keep her, and of course, Bridget volunteered as well. They was talking about how they know Vaughn will be back, even though she says she's done with them. Next, we're going to see where Jeff goes to the hospital to check on Lindsay. Now Franklin is blaming Rashida. He says Rashida is going to be like a collateral damage in this situation, and she's going to get what's coming to her. Of course, he lets him know that his wife has nothing to do with this. And he said, you go to messing with my wife, it's gonna be a problem. Don't let this holiness fool you. If you go to messing with my wife, I'm gonna have to show you that thug part of me. Frankly, I'm not who you think I am. Don't let God in me fool you. He said, don't play with it. You will get slain if you go to messing with the First Lady Rashida. So we're gonna see how this plays out. So after that, of course, Jeff calls Rashida. He explains what Franklin just told him about her being collateral damage. And while he's on the phone with her, when he gets off the phone with her, because all of them were in the car with her when he called, and she took the phone off speakerphone. So once she hung it up, the ladies in the car was like, what happened? And she told them, what he told her. And once they get to Naomi's house, Geneva gets to Naomi's house first, and she walks in. Hakeem is walking around naked. She's telling him to put on some clothes. He's telling her she fine. And I'm like, dude, you banging her friend. Why are you telling her how fine she is? Go put on some clothes and get up out of there. But next thing we see is Naomi coming out. She ain't got on no clothes either. Baby, y'all done did the boom, boom, bang, bang. So y'all need to get it together. So now she's sitting there trying to convince Naomi to put on some doggone clothes. And Naomi comes in fussing and about, Rashida going to the hospital. She talks about how, let's see, because by this time, everybody had gotten there, and the guys stayed outside, and all the ladies went on the inside. So when they walked in, Naomi starts fussing at Rashida about going to the hospital. She explains to her how last night was a lot, and she had a lot of self-inflicted pain. And she was talking about how her husband gave her STIs. Of course, what Rashida said was screwed up because she tells her that you aren't the only woman that has been hurt and you won't be the last. So she's telling her that Franklin baited her. Naomi starts in on Bridget, and she's telling her how she is running all the time. And it's like she's just pushing all of Bridget's buttons with the younger men, and she's just glad to have a house. And she was just being really ugly to Bridget at this point. Then, basically, she been ugly to all of them because, she tells Tiffany, you met a man last night and you're already ready to marry him. And the sad part about the situation with Tiffany is the man that she met is a dude that really don't want her. He actually wants Geneva, but he's using her. And of course, she doesn't, she knows something is wrong, but she's so infatuated with this man till she really can't see it. Now, I feel like, I can't say Rashida, but I definitely feel like this is supposed to be one of your best friends. So I feel like Geneva should have told Tiffany what the issue was. But I feel like Tiffany is not being told what's really going on with Tiffany. But she should still tell Tiffany what's going on. That way her friend won't be getting played as it seems like she's about to get. Then she talks about William being a good 5 inches and that Geneva wants to leave him but needs the dual income. So if William is only 5 inches, that would explain her talking about she's never had a man that big. So William is a shrimp and he's boring. And Javon is a horse and he's exciting. So that's what Lord. Geneva wants. And so she asked Rashida about her husband and Myron is definitely in love with her husband. So trying to remember, did they played this video of Myron outside because she has cameras outside of her house. Naomi has cameras outside of her house. So they play a video of him outside talking on the phone, saying that he loves him. He's with him now. He doesn't like when he doesn't know who he's talking about. He's jealous when he's with her. And, that's basically how it ends with after they watch this video of Myron out there pretty much professing his love for Pastor Jeff. So now we come to the last episode and we're back at Naomi's, right? Where we ended at. So we're back at Naomi's and Naomi wants everyone to hurt. And, they call in. She calls in. Yeah, I'm just trying to make sure I remember correctly. She calls Jefferson in the house and she plays the video of Myron professing his love and all that, pretty much professing his love, whatever. He asks Myron if he's talking about him. And Naomi asks, how long have they been fucking? And of course, he tells them, he hasn't done anything or whatever. So Rashida asks Myron how long he's been in love with her husband. Or rather, she asks him if he's in love with her husband. He says no. And Pastor Jeff is like, this makes sense now because he received an email from somebody saying they belong to the church and they were in love with him and would do anything for him, but he didn't know where it came from because he didn't recognize the IP address or whatever. And he asked him, did he send it? He said no. And of course, Geneva tells him that, that she can track the IP address so they can find out where it comes from. And Pastor Jeff said he's not gay, he's not bisexual, and he loves women, specifically his wife. So sorry to disappoint everybody, he said he's not cheating. With that being said, Rashida lets Naomi know that she is done with her. She no longer wants to be her friend. She is severing this friendship because she refuses to be abused by her like her ex-husband abused her and letting her think this is okay. She said, y'all can sit here and deal with this, but I'm out. Homegirl says she's out. She has wiped her hands. her fingers, everything. She is done with Miss Naomi. So they leave. Well, Rashida tells Bridget, they can drive her car and drop the ladies off. They also said, Myron, you're going to ride with them. Now, it looked like Myron might have called his own car because he didn't get in the car. Well, when I saw them again, I only saw Bridget and Tiffany. So I'm assuming he didn't even ride with them. Anyway, they leave. Right after they left, I just thought it was kind of ironic or crazy how police just walked up in her house to serve her. Y'all didn't even knock on the door. You literally just walked in the house. Anyway, they walked in the house talking about they looking for Naomi somebody. And she was like, this is her or whatever. They let her know she has been served. They opened the papers and find out that she had been sued for assault, and she is being sued for $50 million. As if nobody was surprised by that, because you done sat there and threw a pot of coffee on this lady. Lindsay laying in the hospital, face down, ass up. So, of course, you're going to be sued. 50 million is a lot, but hey, you got it. Obviously, you ain't want it because you've been doing stupid stuff since from episode 1. Anyway, we get to the car where Rashida and Jefferson are headed to the church. Of course, they're talking about the situation. Rashida's telling her husband how naive he is, and he can't believe that the man was looking at him like that. Of course, they're making jokes about the whole situation. So, I guess so. I guess so. Whatever. She shows her husband a little cup because she wants their son to pee in the cup because she feels like he's doing drugs, and she wants her husband to talk to him. Basically, she wants her husband to cuss him out. You don't just talk to him, cuss him out. I don't know if that's gonna work. Probably should beat his ass, but hey. We see where Tiffany and Bridget are riding together, and everything that Bridget knows, she is telling Tiffany because she was like, Rashida has been watching him like a hawk. She knows his passwords, checks his email, all that. So she's literally been watching him like a hawk. So there's that. They get to the church. Myron is in his car crying because he feels like he's going to get fired. Of course, Bridget asks her if he's in love with the pastor. He said, I love my wife. Nobody asked you if you loved your wife or not. They asked you, did you have feelings for the pastor? And he was like, I love my wife. He's killing me when I love my wife. And so she was like, he's going to get fired. Of course, Bridget tells him, just come to work tomorrow and, stuff will get figured out that way. And he's like, you think I should? And she's like, yeah, come to work tomorrow and do your job and tell the truth. And he was like, he's telling the truth. She was like, she don't know who that was. He was talking on the phone, but if you're going to lie, you keep on talking to him. When you're ready to tell the truth, then you come talk to me, because ain't nobody buying you, I love my wife, I was talking to my wife. Dude, we over that. You ain't no way you sit here talking to your wife about no dude. Boy, bye. I'm still trying, and then I was sitting there trying to figure out, did Rashida and her husband go the long way? Did Bridget and Tiffany and Myron, did they take a shortcut or what? Because how they get to the church before the pastor and Rashida, and they left first? Because Tiffany and them was still there when they got served. So how they beat them to the church? Tyler Perry, how did they beat? You know what? Don't even worry about it. But yeah. Of course, Rashida talks to Bridget for a few minutes. Bridget apologizes to her about Naomi. She reiterates, baby, I'm done. So Bridget was like, I wish I could be done. Now, Rashida said, baby, when you tired, you'll get done. When you get tired of her doing you like she did me, you will be done. Anyway, we're going to see where Javon is going to call Tiffany, And he tells her that, he loves the house. He wants to put in an offer, asks her how spontaneous she is. She claims she's got all this spontaneity in her life, and you do it, I'm going to jump, whatever. And of course, he asks her to go to Italy with him because he's going to go with William and Geneva. And, she starts trying to backtrack. Hey, we just met or whatever. He's like, don't back out on me now. Either way it goes. She says, I guess she's going to think about it. They get off the phone together. Next thing we're going to see with Naomi, and Naomi is calling Hakeem, telling him to meet her at the bank. And then we find out she's at the hospital with some doggone black flowers. She comes into the room. Her and Franklin get into it. She goes, the nurse tries to put her out. She tells the lady not to touch Lindsay because, she got open wounds. She's going to infect her. And Naomi takes them little black flowers and plop them right on girl back. Right on her back. So nurse lady probably shouldn't have told her that. So they call in security. She run up out of there. After she done did her little dirt, she run up out of there. Next, we're going to see where Tiffany is going to call Rashida. And she lets her know that Javon had asked her to go to Italy with him. And she was like, how are you going to do that when you're supposed to be watching Anika? So she was like, well, I was wondering if you could do it, but she asked you to do it. So you want to put aside the fact that you're supposed to be watching her so you can frolic and trollop behind some man that you just met yesterday that you don't know about. And your friend been acting stupid with you, but you want to run in behind this man that you don't know about to Italy where y'all trying to encroach on somebody else's trip. Baby, with friends like this. And but at the same point in time, Javon giving me creepo, and Geneva, I'm over her too. So there's that. I'm over Tiffany too, honestly. At this point, I don't like nobody but Rashida. Bridget getting on my nerves too. Bridget really ain't doing a whole lot. But right now, the only person I'm feeling right at this moment is Rashida. Even though she's full of shit too, because you the first lady, you holding all these secrets for everybody. But I do like Rashida. But anyway, she decides, I guess I'm not going to do it, whatever. But back at we go back to the bank, and Naomi opens up the safe deposit box. It has $1 million in there. He wants to touch it. She tells him no. He's like, "You gonna give me some?" And he's like, "No, he's not gonna do anything for it." He called the bees, hoes, all of this stuff. Anyway, she tells him, "You wasted my time. Get out, whatever. Get out of here, whatever." He's still calling her a bitch, but there you go. That's over with, and we go back to the church where Myron supposedly had done left the church because he was crying. Now he's back at the church talking to the pastor, talking about he's going to clean out his desk. And of course, Pastor Jeff is like, he asked him who was he talking to. He was like, he was talking to a man that goes to the church. And of course, he was like, he came back, to clean out his desk because he's going to fire him. And he was like, the man works here. He was like, yeah, but he doesn't want him to lose his job. So he was like, so you telling this man that, I like you or whatever? And he was like, well, he's the one that put it in his head that he has feelings for him. So Jeff asked him, why didn't he tell him that he had feelings for him? And he was like, he didn't know how to say it. But he then asked him if he's gay, and he says no. But you sit here and you're saying you got feelings for this man, but you're not gay. You got feelings, but you're not gay. Sound like you're a little confusion because he's talking about, but I love my wife. Ain't nobody asked you if you love your wife, dude. Because evidently you got something going on in you that you need to learn about, because you got feelings for this dude. You loving your wife. You want the pastor. Hey, you giving confusion. So Pastor said, he's not going to fire him, but he feels like, he need to talk to somebody. He need to work through whatever he need to work through. But anyway, he tells him, get some stuff situated for the next day, and he going on about his business. We're gonna see where Geneva comes home, and Javon is in the kitchen cooking, and he asks her about tasting his big juicy meat. Or did he say meat? Juicy. He did say juicy. He didn't say big. He claimed he was teaching William how to make a flank steak, but he was sitting here flirting with his wife in his face. And William punk ass don't hear here and say, I'll try a piece. And then he tries it and he goes, oh, it is juicy. And I'm like, William, is you slow or is you dumb? Or is you both? Because I'm just like, let this man I digress. Because this is so crazy. But in this, she says that he then tells her that he has invited, because what you giving me stupid? Because why are you always including all these people and stuff with you and your wife? Because you sitting here and you have invited this man on your trip to Italy that you're supposed to be on with your wife, who right now she ain't too happy with you anyway. So why would you be inviting a whole other couple? Why? And then you're gonna invite the lady that that's supposed to be watching y'all daughter while y'all out of the country. It don't make sense to me. But anyway, in the midst of that conversation, the nanny runs in. Nika has fallen off the swing. She's screaming. She's crying. They rush to the hospital. So Rashida walks into her room. Her son is in there rambling, or should I say silly. And she's like, what are you doing? He said, he's looking for a tie, but how you looking for a tie over there by the bed? She said, ties are in the closet. What's in your hand? Money. He's in there stealing. She tells him, she takes money from him. He snatches her wrist because he finna snatch his mama up. The daughter is peeking through the window. Yeah. Homeboy finna snatch his mama up because he said he need the money, because she's like, she just gave him money. After she gave him money, then he got money from the daddy. Now you in here trying to get more money. Homeboy, it ain't going. But the sister was looking through the door and he snatched the mama up, and she had very good restraint. She should have pulled a Jackie Christie, but she didn't. But she should have. She should have pulled a Jackie Christie, but she didn't. But anyway, he, apologizes. He leaves. The daughter comes in, asks mom if she's okay. And, she's still visibly shaking and she's trying to, calm herself down. She tells her she's okay. And that's the end of that. And back at the hospital, we're going to see where the nanny is upset. She's in there crying. She's having a hard time. And Geneva is giving the nanny a hard time. Well, she's a preemie. What the being a preemie got to do with anything? But they tell her everything's going to be okay. Whatever. She wants to sit there and wait on them to find out what's going on, because they told her she could leave. But she wanted to make sure Anika is okay before she leaves. In walks Tiffany, because Javon took upon his punk ass to call her down there. Now, with all the situations, because the lady just told you that Geneva had been acting funny with her. Why would you take it upon yourself to call her to the hospital? Because you shouldn't even be there. But anyway, of course, Geneva tells her, this isn't a time. It needs to be family time. She basically lets them know that they can leave. She says she is family. She's not going anywhere. Of course, Geneva's like she's not in the mood to go back and forth with her. So by this time, the doctor comes out, tells them that the baby needs transfusion. And William volunteered. The doctor said she said it should come from the parents. William volunteered. The doctor said it should come from Geneva. He was like, Geneva doesn't like needles. And she was like, it should come from Geneva. Geneva, come with me. And Geneva want to get booked. I'm not going anywhere. I ain't going anywhere. What's going on? So she was trying to give you a heads up. But now you want to get bucked. So doctor like, man, I tried to help you, but since you don't want my help, because that's what I didn't get. Now, you've been being trifling this whole series. You was banging this man when you was going through the little fertility treatments or whatever the case may be. You were messing with this man. You knew the first time he met this child, he asked you, was he the daddy? So you knew it was a possibility that he might have been the daddy. And when this lady tried to give you out, this doctor tried to give you out, you want to get booked and try to say you ain't going anywhere. So the doctor was like, okay, bitch. All right, bitch. I got one for you. Anika blood type is AB. William was like, she's AB and I'm O. I'm a professor. There's no way I could be her father. What's going on? And now, Geneva is sitting there looking stupid because your punk was scared of a needle and you want to sit here and get bucked. So now Tiffany and the baby daddy and not the baby daddy is all there. Now, what you gonna say, homegirl? Because now you didn't want to do this in private. You didn't want to do it in private. You wanted to act a fool and try to get bucked with the doctor in front of everybody. Now your skeletons is coming out. Them chickens coming home to roost. Now what? Now what, homegirl? Now what? Anyway, we don't know what, because that is the end of the episode in the mid-season finale. And that's how Tyler Perry has decided to end this episode. So now we got to sit here and wait for it to come back so we can find out who the baby daddy is. What I want to know is what kind of fall did Anika have where it was so hard where she had to have a blood transfusion? What kind of freaking, y'all could have came up with another storyline or another way for us to determine that he wasn't dead. But then I'm starting to wonder if it's just gonna be him, or we gonna find out little Miss Geneva been ho-hopping with some other people. Since he's so boring, she probably was red eagle to a few more places. But anywho, I have now caught up on that. So that's gonna be it for this review. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Please share the video. And with that being said, I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.